No? It's on? Okay. All right. I think the sticks are gone. Yeah. All right. So, the last few classes we've been working. I think last week I did a little work on the stick form, and what we're talking about was it's called Lao Sui stick form, and that it's whether it was from the Lao family or why does it have an opening that's similar to the Lao Gar Kuen. That might be a coincidence, or maybe when we adapted the form that we used the opening to Lao Sui stick, Lao Gar Kuen. But the thing is, regardless of what it is, this is called a single-ended staff, and you should hold one end and on the opposite side, use that as your striking surface. So, one of the things I want people to understand is that basically in a drill, you have 7 movements. So when you're in a horse stance and we hold this stick movement should be actually eye level. Okay. A lot of people think high is up here. That is high, but you don't need to be that high because your focus is here. So if you're using the stick as a defensive tool or to use it for techniques, your hand has to be a relationship to the body. So one of the biggest benefits of learning the staff or the stick is to build the connection to the body. So that's really what's important. It's like, this is like rowing a boat. When you row a boat, you can't do it with one hand. You have to use, so you see how important it is to keep that connection. And when you're doing this movement, you're simulating movements that are it's like rowing a boat. So if we're here in a horse stance, this is your offset horse, and I'm right here. This is your alignment. This is the position you should be in. Okay. Over there is over there. That position is to the left, and then this is positions to your right. So between there, and there, so it's right, middle, and left, you have to be eye level. Okay. So when you go like this, it's over there. When you go like this, it's over here. When you go like this, it's in the middle. So you go 1, 2, 3. Now once we're in that corner, drop it. Okay. So now you look at from a side position behind, you see it's about 45 degrees. If I go like this, press, it comes up and it comes across. And I push, pull, push, 1, 2. Now you see, this is here to here. So between there, is a square. So you see, when I talk about geometry of position and you measure off all your movements, this is where the accuracy of the movements come in when you start to build your position. Now, all of this accuracy of position, you know where it comes from? It comes from the accuracy of position of your skeletal structure based on what we've learned in many of our movements in the form. So when I speak of structure, integrity of position, transition, it all is magnified and highlighted by here. Now these basic movements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, really there's only 7 of those. I just went through them. You're here, 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 right? Those are fundamentals. Because in Lao Sui stick form, you really has all of that. In fact, that carries through to 8-diagram pole and many of the other type of transitions. And even southern staff, those are really the common movements. But people actually don't move their body correctly. Henceforth, ergo, the stick is kind of just flailing it. Stick should have balance. Stick should be yin and yang also, passive and active movement. So what is passive active movement? Double weighted, double action. When people hold a stick and they go boom, 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 this is not correct. This is not the way we maneuver. In Kung Fu, or at least the way we do it, your hands have to shift and adjust constantly on the stick to modify your positions, because you have to adapt and form a position based on what you're doing with the stick. If you're like this, where you're like this, when you're like this, when you're like this, when you're like this. These are all positions that you have to maneuver to, and this is more of that sequence that we did. You see, so the accuracy of those positions has to do with the give and take of your limbs. The give and take of your limbs is the yin and yang of the movement. So that's why they call it yin-yang stick. So when you go like this, and you go like this turns, and then this turns. This turns, and this turns. So you see, the turning is like when your forearm turns and pulls and pushes. This is really the idea of what happens with the stick. So you have body mechanics and mechanical advantages. Mechanical advantages is you're taking this object and you're making it, maximizing its potential. So if you're like this and you strike out, you want the strikeout to be power to tip and generated from the connection between here and there, and your legs. If you don't have your legs working, in coordination with the stick, the movements are not mechanically sound, but it's not balanced. You don't have equal quality to the movement. So when you're here, and you're here, when you're here, when you're here, when you're here, and you're here, your legs constantly have to adjust for position. You see that? So when I'm here and I make a cross, this movement, this to here, the leg has to connect with that. So when I'm here and I go like this, that's the movement. So I'm here, then you have that movement. So you see how fundamentally your body has to learn to connect with those motions. Then you're going to start to build accuracy of movement and position and focus using this. Because as an extension of your body, where do those sight lines go? Where do you line your body? If we talk about throwing a punch, should be a line here. We talk about with the stick, the alignment is here. How much do you need to move here? The more I move from side to side, really has to do with the relationship of my body relative to here. But in using the movement, this is all you need to do. It only goes from shoulder to shoulder. But this is too small for you to realize, so you practice the body movement like this. Then when you use it, it's really within that realm of position. Like this movement, when I go like this, it comes to here, and it comes back. When I go like this, and this, that's a circle. That's a circle. So you have to regulate this circle based on your reference point, you see. So doing the stick and just swinging it and randomly kind of go through motion is not what you're trying to achieve. You have to take the concepts that I just mentioned and just try to start to understand, the benefits of controlling those movements as a relationship between here and here. And as you do that, then you actually will start to progress a lot more. So sequentially, we also have this movement, right? So the swing, so that's the movement that's like this, right? So you poke, so this here comes from here. So that's that movement that's here, see? And then I pull, and I push. But because I'm in a stance, it changes the direction of the movement. And I poke. When I go like this, it goes down, leaning stance, suspended stance, poke, and I repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, and then here, 2. And then this drops down, it turns like this, and it comes up. So you break down your stick movements and try to coordinate with your leg movements. You'll see more improvement and understanding between the staff and your body. So that's something of value. Okay. So you notice when you step up, if you pick up the stick, then you're here. Swing, shift, step. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you end up like this. So the leg work, when you strike down, you don't hit your thigh. It just ends up there. You look from the side view. You see? So that's your goal, is that final position. Now once you're there, line it up, horse stance, poke, right here, right? Shift, cat stance, right? Step up, leaning stance. This 1, 2, right? So here, leaning stance, horse stance. Here, foot's in position. This is going to go like this. Then drop, turn, step, lift, and down. So here again, your leg work, your hand work, your leg work, your hand. Build the body form and position so you can create the action, taking the same movements that you had in those 7 basic movements and maneuvers, and then find those actions with the stance and direction. So everything basically happens in this space, there and there. But the thing is, they're all when you're here. This is just the mapping of the form, and then you get to there. When you get to this side, we're like this. So this is 45-degree poking down. You see, your hands here, boom, boom. Okay. So one of the things, don't hold the stick too tight. If you hold it too tight, you can't maneuver the hands. You can't maneuver the hands, then you get stuck, and then you start to force the movement because the arms are not in the right place. So there's a lot of manipulation of skeletal structure and adjustment of your body form. So while we're holding it out here, that's what we're focusing on, is the stick, but then at the same time, how do you move the rest of your body? That's what practice and sort of going on this journey takes you, because you start to realize what has to happen. Like I said before, like if some people are very gifted in some ways, can just watch it and kind of do it. Some people have to go through a bigger process and learn basically the fundamentals. A lot of people like to just jump into form and learn sequence, and then they have to go back and fix it. So you either fix it in the beginning or you're going to have to fix it later on. But either way, fixing it is par for the course. But the thing is, if you develop a lot of bad habits or you're very stiff and rigid, you got to get rid of that excessive, erroneous tension in the body before you can actually move efficiently. So that's all part of the learning. When you do something, whether it's even swinging a golf club, you have a lot of excessive baggage, tension, inability to connect with the movement other than you got to hit that ball way out there. Well, we're dealing with this. We're not hitting anything other than this virtual person that you're trying to use as a target. But where is that target? Well, really, when you're here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 movements. That covers many of the movements that are fundamental. Obviously, you have other movements where the hands are like this, and you turn like this, and you strike. Then it becomes the same thing. But between this and this, it's that, right? So this is over the head. This is over the head. This is over the head. But what happens? The arms cross and they uncross. They cross and they uncross. So once your body kind of recognizes how to maneuver like that and like that, because it's horizontal versus angular and vertical, front to back and down and up, you have to figure out that's the space. And as you start to evolve, many of the things your body will start to understand more of what we're talking about. Okay, so I'm going to go through this one more time. So after we pick up the stick in Loga form, second form, we know this already. But once you pick up the stick, you pick it up. You have to go through center. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So if you learn that first frontal piece, the back side is exactly the same. So you just have to learn the front side. Just like the second form. So you learn one side, you know the other side. Because it's all happening as a sequence, and it's right side of movements. So I think that's what we did, what we're going to cover in the stick. So that gives you something to work with. So where is these movements derived from? Movements are extension of the body. So if you, in Gungji Kun, right, say we're here, and I step up, and I go like this, and I go like this. This, and this, and this is the framework of those movements. So our movements, at least the way I teach it, your body is really the key component to all of your positions, regardless of what you do. You take the stick and you go like this, or you go like this, or you go like this, or you go like this. These are positions. Your body has to know those. When you pick up the stick and then you try to replicate and mimic those movements without the body form that you learned in your fist form, then you're going to have to sort of learn two separate things, and it doesn't connect. But if you learn the body form, then all of it starts to make a lot of sense, and that's really what a long-term practitioner has learned over time. But if you pick up boom, 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 boom all at once, you didn't learn the body form, the mechanics, all the transitions. So, if you didn't do it this way, you can always go back and refix a lot of things, because that's called evolving. So learning it wrong the first time, you would think, is not because it's completely wrong. You didn't have enough insight and understanding about what you're trying to achieve. What you're trying to achieve is the position, the position, the position, the position. Now, if you understand that, then when you're here, and when you're here, and I push, and I pull, and I'm striking, and I'm here, and I'm here, you're going to see, when you're like this, you know these positions. So any one of those moves, I'm like this. If I punch, I punch, I punch, I pull, I strike. These are all the same actions that you have, even if you're using your hands, right? Your hand movements. Where do they go? Where do they go? Where do they go? Where do they go? Right? When they go like this, uppercut, right? When the hand goes. How does it know this? Right? When you're here. When you're like this, you cross, step. The action in the upper lower body has to connect. Otherwise, your stick looks like it's like an orchestra. Your body's not orchestrated. That's going that way, that's going that way, that's going that. So it's just not coordinated. So in movement, it looks like that. If it was your music, it would sound terrible. So it's the same type of orchestration where the body has to work together. And that's what I call right and left side relationships, building that coordination. So when you're in a horse stance and you go to leaning stance, when you go like this and you go like this, your stance has to be there. Right? So that's how important the foundation movements are. We always talk about fundamentals, and I think a lot of times we say, well, I hear it all the time, but really, what does that mean? It translates into, as you evolve to the next stage and to the next stage, it starts to be magnified again. Okay, the stances are not good. The body form is not good. The alignment is not good. So that's all part of identifying it and understanding it as you go through the stages of learning. Just the basic thing of scooping and turning. There's your center line. Stepping up and punching. Okay, so the body has to align like this. It's not like this, because if I did this, there's no connection to the lower half of the body. When I go like this, there's connection to the lower body. But where's the connection dimensionally? 1, 2, 3. No turn. 1, 2, 3, turn. No sync. 1, 2, 3. You see there's three different things three different ways I did it. But which one works and looks the best and feels the best and has the best mechanical advantage is that when we scoop, 1, 2, 3. So you have right, left, forward, down, sync. So you have multi-dimensional. That has volume and motion. Now that's breaking it down. When you do the movement, it should be blended together like that, so you have a synchronized movement that has power, structure, and integrity. So when you do it like that, then it feels right, and then that's what you stay with as an execution. But you have to build it from here. You have to build it from here. You have to build it from here, and you have to build it to there. Okay, so that's just a sample of what happens in 5 stance movement. That's really that movement. It's in the second form, and so forth. So there is a strategy and a method to the madness. But can we understand all of the little concepts? Final position, transition, structure, integrity without voids means movements have to be compatible with your body, positioning and movement. Reference points. Reference points are shoulder, center line, waist, sternum, shoulder width, eye level. All of these are the parameters of the space. When we work within this space, those are the simplest movements that we go through as a form, but it's not just that, it's the position. Right? Eye level, sternum, elbow down, shoulder width, triangle, elbow, triangle, elbow, triangle, right? So you see, I do this, to 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 this, are just maneuvers. But the accuracy of going from there to back and forth, varying the different techniques, is sort of diversifying the motion and then learning how to make a transition from position to position to position to position with good execution and the body timing and mechanism tying into that. And then, in application, the movements get smaller, more refined, more subtle, and it's built in. Because the transitions become innate. Innate movements become subconscious behavior, ultimately becomes reflex action, and becomes something that's very practical as far as how you respond to a situation, and then your body will know. So a lot of times people say, well, I'm taking martial arts now, now I should be able to defend myself. It's not that easy. It doesn't really work like that. The only way you can experience that is that you have to go through this process and then work with a partner. Today we really can't work with partners because of the social distancing, but you can work your form. If you work your form long enough, you dial that in. You dial this in. You dial this in. You dial all of these things. So these are, sort of what we're learning. And, we can go through forms for a process of learning, which we did earlier with the other forms, the first 4 forms. But then after sequence, where do you go? That's always a threshold for a lot of people. Where do you go when you finish that form or the form that you're learning? The natural direction that you want to head is to learn the next form and another form and another form. That doesn't lead anywhere to a lot of forms. You have to understand these movements. So while these are foundation movements, and we talk about it all the time, it's your, I had this little piece of tape I showed earlier of what a transition is when you're doing movement. It really has to do with your bridge and how it turns and how it maneuvers. So whether it's the iron wire form or it's the full hawk, every one of those forms really goes down to really basic foundation movement. So when you go low, when you go middle, when you go cutting hand, go middle, into the center, here, you're transitioning into positions that really shows you how to manipulate your skeleton relative position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I didn't put a lot of strength into that, but there's energy in the movement because you can see the intent and focus of those motions. It's not all about strength, it's about correctness and direction of movement. So once you have good direction of movement, then your body's going to move efficiently. So you say, well, how do I move fast? First you have to get this in. And then if I go like this, then if I go like this hand, just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? 1. There's a something comes, you're here. Capture. The body focuses. Here, 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 here. So what happens is once your body recognizes it, it moves and it creates the body form to execute. That's what you're doing. When you're here like this, and you're here, that's how you move in reaction. But you don't overreact. It's always just a part of your action. Then your body will be able to recover and not waste strength that's not necessary. So the legs and hands have to work together. So that's kind of what I want you to get as the value of your training that you go through this process. And there's tremendous benefits aside from just learning how to move. There's coordination, motor skill, building brain plasticity, utilizing your musculature in ways you never thought you could. Learn to contract and relax the muscles. The same thing you're doing when you're taking a barbell and you're doing this contract and relax. But that is kind of what we call mundane, kind of dead movement functionally, because that's not what the intent is. In martial arts, we have a focus of intent. Where does it go? How do we use our movement and the body efficiently? So not every movement has to be strong. So anyways, give us a thumbs up. Go to YouTube, subscribe, because that's how you're going to help us build the following. And that's important because we're doing all this streaming. I give out all this content. But, what we want you to do to give back is to share it, get more people to do it, and preserve what, information I'm sharing with you for the future people that are practicing traditional martial arts. Mainly the Lam family Hung Gar or Lam family Hung Kuen. We want to preserve that, and we can only do it through, your thumbs up and subscription. So, and really, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next